the students that we've developed here at this school have gotten that internalized sense of confidence, and they take it out in the real world, and then they feel that way in other areas of their life. They're able to approach things because they've established this sense of confidence in the martial arts, and they're able to approach different endeavors that they have and develop a confidence to do those things, but also to get further in those things and develop confidence in those realms as well. So it is a habit, and it's something that you have to persevere through, and you have to develop over time through competency. Hello, welcome to another episode of the Black Belt Parenting Podcast. I'm Kathy Sacoulas, and I'm excited today to bring you another episode about developing confidence in your child. Developing confidence in your child is actually one of the number one reasons parents join martial arts, and actually adults too. So when we're talking about making your child bully-proof or preparing them for people that may bully them, confidence is the number one way to kind of defend against bullying. It's not particularly martial arts techniques that we're looking to attain in becoming bully-proof. It's actually developing a sense of confidence in your child. And so when we're talking about confidence, I think a synonym and a good way to talk about it is to talk about competence. So they go kind of hand in hand. Like, you cannot become confident without developing a sense of competence. And so I think I first have to discuss that sometimes people have a false sense of confidence. And one of the things that we're very careful with in our martial arts school is to make sure that we're not developing a false sense of confidence in the kids or in our students. And what does that mean, right? It means that you feel a sense of competency in martial arts when it's not really there. And how does that happen? I think some people praise or give people rank too soon sometimes, and it develops this sense of like, okay, I can go out there and use these skills, having not had the time and the experience with those skills, for a long period of time. It's one of those things that we grappled with here at our school was making sure that we weren't doing ranking inappropriately. So what does that mean? For us, that meant that we're not just giving out rank, haphazardly. It really is earned reps, meaning that the kids have to develop a certain sense of, I've done this for a certain period of time, and they've demonstrated it multiple times to us so that we feel like when we send them out there, they're actually able to use it, and it becomes sort of a reaction for them. When the kids are young at this school, we do striping, and we do promotions, more frequently, because they need to have this sense of motivation earlier on. It's kind of developmentally appropriate. But as they get older, we kind of spread out those rankings and those promotions because we feel like, then they have better understanding that now they have to earn it a little bit more. So when the kids start at our school, like at age 3, we stripe them once a week. We make sure they're ranking at least every 3 months so they feel a sense of accomplishment. Their sense of time is a little bit different when they're younger, and it makes them motivated to come to class. As they get older, then we start to spread it out, and we don't necessarily rank you based on time per se and attendance. We're actually looking at all three. So time, attendance, and competency. Delving a little bit more into, false sense of confidence, it's really unearned reps, meaning that you're building people up who you really shouldn't be building up, right? And what happens when you do that? It can be really dangerous in a real life self-defense situation. You never want to let a kid feel like, okay, I can handle all of this stuff outside, and then when they're really confronted with it, they're unable to really use what they've learned. So it can lead to danger. It could lead to a decreased safety, this feeling of like that you can do anything, but it's not based on anything real. And then subsequently, it can lead to bully type of behavior because they feel like they have entitled, this feeling of like I'm invincible, right? Then they become rude, they may become cocky, they may feel like they can be better than everybody else. And so that's not confidence, right? That's more like cockiness. It's comparing yourself to others, thinking you're better than others, right? And so you have to be really careful about, how you develop confidence in your child, right? And those people who have that false sense of confidence feel like they can't make any mistakes and mistakes are bad. And that's really not something that you want, your kid to develop in their mindset. So martial arts, if it's done appropriately, can instill confidence in really great ways. And we've kind of seen it here at the school. And it's one of the benefits that, we promise when the kids come in. And it's something that we work on consistently in the classroom. So, like I said before, as young as 3 years old, we're introducing, the martial arts to kids. What are we doing at 3? There's a lot to be done at 3. The pure act of the child separating from their parents to come onto the training floor with us is a huge confidence builder. And it's a skill that needs to be nurtured. And separation anxiety is a real thing, right? And it's developmentally appropriate for kids that age. So it's a necessity for us to maybe do it in a way that is slow, that is nurturing, and that builds the child's confidence while they come here. There are kids that come into this school that are unable to separate from their parents, and that's okay. Maybe they're not quite ready to do martial arts and come onto the training floor with us. But what we do is that we slowly introduce it to them on a consistent basis. So a lot of times, a child will come in here at 3 or 4 years old and they'll be crying. I've had kids 5, 7 years old that still have difficulty separating from their parents. And that's okay. I never want to make the child feel wrong or their parents feel embarrassed. They shouldn't, right? It's a natural part of life and it's something that needs to be developed over time. So in some instances, it takes 3, 4, 5 visits here before the child feels comfortable coming onto the training floor, and that's okay. The moment they come onto the training floor after having endured those 5 to 7 visits is a true confidence builder. Not just for the child, but for the parents as well. And that separation and that ability to feel like I can do this by myself is one of the first ways that we develop confidence in the kids here at the school. And it's really just the pure act of walking onto the training floor. And in fact, I would like to say that any person that comes off of the street and tries martial arts, right, and has the guts to come onto the training floor, once you make that leap, right, it really develops your confidence. And that's the first step in, our way of developing confidence in the student. Along with that, in the introductory process, we like to make them feel successful in all of their endeavors. So once you step onto the mat, we praise it. It's such a huge success, right? And making sure that we're speaking to their future self, meaning that we're helping them live into a goal, already speaking to them like they're a martial artist, already speaking to them like they're a student, already making them feel like they're part of the family, right? And this just doesn't happen in the introductory process. It happens and continues throughout your training. So whether you're in the beginning parts of your training, you're in the middle, or you're in the end, we're always speaking to you as if you're heading towards your goal and that we believe in you and that we believe that you can achieve that goal. So it really talks about like vision and mission and instilling that idea into your head and making sure that we believe in you and so that it develops that belief in yourself. So the language that we use becomes really important, and it's something that we train our staff on, our teachers, the people in the lobby, any of the assistants, so that we create this whole support system for the student to live into their goals. And this creates a good basis for developing their own self-confidence. Because your confidence can develop from other people believing in you, but really where it has to come from is from the self. But we create that supportive environment where you can develop that self-confidence. Simultaneously, I think one of the biggest things, in tandem with that is developing communication skills in those kids. I think one of the biggest things that we do in martial arts is develop communication skills. It's less about the kicking and punching once again, right? It's about the development of using their voice, enforcing eye contact, enforcing positive and strong postures, and using powerful language. All of these things are the first things you need to do in developing self confidence, right? Creating these habits of being loud, of talking to people face to face, eye to eye, speaking with a loud and assured voice, those things are key. And what we do on the training floor to make sure that happens is we'll do eye contact drills with our little kids, make sure they're doing a staring contest, having them get comfortable with looking people in the face, right? Being loud when they're counting, when they're answering a teacher, saying yes, sir, or yes, ma'am, paying respects to their partners and their teachers, right? All of these things are strong, positive body mechanics and body communication skills that are necessary in making sure that you're presenting yourself in a way that is confident and assured. People are less likely to mess with you if you present yourself in a fashion where you look like, maybe I'll take a second thought in bullying that child, because they kind of look like they know what they're doing and they kind of look like they're sure of themselves. It's the ones with the weak postures who speak really softly, who are unsure of themselves. They're the ones who tend to get a little bit more bullied. And so these communication skills and sort of presentation of yourself become really important in how you present yourself, right? And it's one of the things that people don't necessarily pay attention to when they're coming into martial arts school as something that we pay attention to, but it's a big part of our instruction. Because if you don't enforce these rules, right, if you don't enforce this self-respect and these positive communication skills, the kids don't really get this aspect of self-confidence in line with all the other things that we do. So as young as 3 and 4, we're enforcing the yes, sir, the yes, ma'am, the eye contact, positive and powerful language, and the strong postures. Oftentimes when we're in class, while the kids are listening, they're not just standing around fidgeting and touching things, right? We have them stand in listening positions. They're taking a knee. Their posture is up. They're not really allowed to slouch or cross their arms, right? And it's because it creates an environment of them being attentive and being respectful and them creating a positive posture for themselves out in the world. So maybe, hopefully, this is our hope, is that it becomes habit for them to use out in school or wherever they go whenever they try and land a job and things like that. And it goes on further when they start assisting in class, because then they have to put themselves in leadership roles, and those things become really important for your communication skills as well. So I can't emphasize enough the importance of developing good communication skills, and not just verbal communication skills, but your whole body language becomes really important in creating a child or even an individual who is bully-proofed. I didn't start martial arts until I was 27 years old, and I will tell you, like, my whole way of being changed when I did martial arts because of the enforcement of this. And I don't think it's too late for anybody. I think you can start as late as you want and develop your confidence that way, and it's priceless. I don't know that if there's any other thing that I've done that's given me this confidence to speak in front of a room, to go out in the world and kind of feel like I can present myself. I'm only like 5'1", but I feel bigger than I am because of the confidence that martial arts has given me. That's just an example of me, and there's like hundreds and hundreds of students that I've seen who've grown in their confidence because of the development of good communication skills. Aside from that, the confidence that the students develop here at the school come from other things as well. Obviously, it's the development of skill, which happens over time. So the commitment that they have at the school, to this course of learning and achievement of black belt really lends to them feeling this sense of confidence within their skills and their physical fitness. So their viewpoint of themselves, whether it's their body image, their self-image, how they're presenting themselves, all of that also comes from the development of the martial arts skill, having been here for a while. I've said this before, right? The students earn their ranks, and the development of black belt takes a really long time here at this school. It's not something that you can get when you're really young, and we did that on purpose. Just psychologically, to have your black belt at the age of 7 for us just didn't make sense, because at 7 you don't really understand all of the tenets of black belt. The perseverance, the grit, the patience, that stuff kind of has to be developed over time. So we've created like a minimum age of at least 13 or 14 before we allow the kids to even think about attaining their junior black belt, because they have to have been here for a while and weathered, certain obstacles and struggles before we can really say that they understand the tenets, all of the tenets of black belt, and then to understand that that's just the mastery of basics, at the junior level. And still, there's so much to learn. Really, the confidence that comes from attaining your junior black belt here at this school comes from a really long time period and having weathered many, many storms and many, many obstacles here at this school. And so the confidence comes from overcoming those obstacles. In addition to that, we put those students in leadership positions, and I talked about this with the communication skill aspect. The students here really then assist in classes. Our junior black belts have to do 100 hours of service in their younger peer classes, and it really lends to their understanding of being a confident individual and role modeling that for the younger ones. And also developing more of a leadership role allows you to feel more confident in your skills, whether it be your communication skills, your ability to be with other people, your ability to do techniques, right? When we ask students to demonstrate in front of class, right, that is a confidence builder as well. It allows us to spotlight those people who are doing particularly well in class and to show the other students, like, this is the way we want it to be done. There's so many times when students are called to demonstrate in front of class, and we hope to kind of use everybody and not just use the same particular person. I think that's not great. I think you should always be using everybody. If you see something great, bring it out in front of the class, because it's worth spotlighting them. And then when you do, like, the way the kids' faces light up, and sometimes they're shocked, especially when the kids are kind of new and you bring them out in front of class and you kind of spotlight what they did right. Those things really build up their sense of like, hey, I'm doing okay, and being a good finder in their technique, whether it be something as little as they're speaking loud or they're standing and they're not being disruptive in class, like hitting all those points and making them feel like, oh, I'm doing something correct. It allows them to kind of build upon that basis of, confidence grows in like steps, right? So you're developing this really good foundation for them. And then finally, this is important, is making sure that you're promoting them and they're going through the ranking process. The ranking process for us is really, we know the kids are ready to test and we want to spotlight them and show them, like, this is what you've earned and this is what you've done. Our martial arts in particular, Jeet Kune Do, Bruce Lee wasn't a fan of belts. He was all about just getting better and being self-motivated enough to always get better. There's never an end. There should never be like this final thing, like it's always evolving. You can always be better, which I really love. But when you're a child, that's something that you have to learn over time. And so as students get their rank, they get excited about their belts. But I think what happens more often than not is that after a certain time, they're like, I really just love doing martial arts. I always want to get better. And the belt is just like something that's there. It's great. It's a good representation of, where you've come and how far you've come. But at the same time, like if you really, you know, take this martial arts journey in and you internalize it, it becomes a part of you and the rank doesn't matter. It really is about, I'm just going to do this. It's a lifestyle and it makes me want to be a better person. And so I'm just going to keep going. And it's developed who I am and it's developed my confidence. So promotions and exams are important. They show you how far you've come. And then, simultaneously you come to learn over time. Like it's important. And at the same time, I don't necessarily need it because I just want to do this and get better. In the martial arts, I think along with this, you develop this sense of humility and self-control in all situations. So when we were talking about having a false sense of confidence, the most confident individuals here at the school are the ones that you don't even notice. They're students that are here for a little bit of time and they're a little cocky and they're confident and they have a lot of ego, and for me, they haven't figured it out yet. They haven't gotten the confidence level yet. Because true confidence really displays itself with humility and self-control in all situations. So the ones that I see that do techniques, they have really good self-control. They have the humility to train with all individuals. They're giving of themselves on the training floor. Those are the students that really show confidence to me and really display this really good sense and grounding feeling of confidence. So it's almost like the opposite of what people think it is, right? But I think it's important to differentiate the two because, people think like the best guy is always like the burly guy who's in the corner, like doing the technique. And I think that the most confident ones are the ones that are quiet in their confidence, the ones who stand tall, but they're not brazen about it. So there's a difference. And I think when we see those who are in the high ranking positions, those are the ones that really have understood and internalized this characteristic of confidence. So that's in the martial arts. And I'm really proud that the students that we've developed here at this school have gotten that internalized sense of confidence and they take it out in the real world, and then they feel that way in other areas of their life. They're able to approach things because they've established this sense of confidence in the martial arts, and they're able to approach different endeavors that they have and develop a confidence to do those things, but also to get further in those things and develop confidence in those realms as well. So it is a habit, and it's something that you have to persevere through and you have to develop over time through competency. So now as we talk about confidence as a parent, I think there are some things that we can take from the martial arts that really applies to what you can do at home. And the first thing that I think is really applicable and something that I wish I kind of knew earlier is, because I think the first few times that, people talk about parenting, it's really chaotic because you're with a baby, it's a first time, like nobody tells you what's going to happen, but hindsight's always 20/20, is providing a safe and calm environment. The most important thing you can do is create this environment at home of a foundation of confidence. Just like we talked about in the martial arts school, like when we train our staff to talk to the students as if they're students, to talk to them as if they're achieving their goals, to help them live into their future self, but creating this basis and this safety where they feel like they're supported, right? I think it's the same thing for us as parents, is we have to create this safe and calm environment at home so they feel confident within that realm first. It's the first place where they're going to develop this feeling of safety. And so confidence can only come from that. Where I'm saying I think I could have done better with my kids is like I was so stressed out and anxious that sometimes the calmness was not there. And so, I've become better at dealing with my own stress, and then it really does affect my children and the calmness that they feel in kind of dealing with their own lives, right? And develop this confidence like everything's okay. The number one thing that I think we need to do as parents is provide a home where they feel a sense of safety, a sense of support, and where the level of anxiety is, low. I know it's hard. It's very stressful life out there, and you're working and you're trying to provide, and we're so busy that bringing that stress home is really easy to do. I remember coming home sometimes overwhelmed from work, and I'd walk through the door and I would just be stressed out at the mess. I'd be stressed out by the dishes. I'd be stressed out by the laundry, and then I would take it out on my kids. Instead of greeting them and being like, hey, it's nice to see you, like I would immediately go to that. And so I've had to learn over time to come in the door, take a deep breath before I walk in, and greet them and be present to them, because they haven't seen me. They don't know what happened in my day, and they don't care, to be honest, right? It really is like, this is my mom. I want to see my mom. And I've had to learn to do that and be more mindful of like when I walk in the door, when I'm with my kids, and not focusing on what's wrong and what's messy and what haven't you done, and more been about just being present to them and being grateful that we're all together and they actually want to be near me and talk to me about their day. So that's just an example, because my kids are older. But I think when they were younger, I could have done a better job at like walking in the door and just like spending time with them and being like, that mess is always going to be there. I'll deal with it later. So I think that's really important. And then we talked about this in dealing with perseverance and grit, praising them on their efforts, right? Confidence can only be built based on them feeling some sort of competence, right? And yeah, when they achieve things, great, but achievement can only be done through effort. The more you praise the effort, the more they're going to be willing to do things, right? It's more about them seeing like, oh my gosh, she recognizes the things that I'm doing. I'm going to keep doing that. I'm going to keep trying to get better. So it's all that. It's like the little things. It's the details. I think I came home from work the other day and one of my daughters folded my laundry and put it in my room, and I didn't have to say anything. I was like, that's so great that you took the time to do that, and you took the initiative to do that, because that's huge for me, and the result is great, but I just like that the effort was made. So those things, like, just focus on the effort, focus on they tried. I think that's great, right? And then encouraging their independence or their competency, right? So we talked about this with independence and letting go, letting them do things, encouraging them to be on their own and to show competency. It's going to take time for them to learn how to do things right, but you have to allow and invest in that time for them to develop that competency, which will develop their confidence. So everything that we do, I feel like, is an investment, and it does take time. And I know sometimes it's so easy to kind of just rush through things and want to get through it. And sometimes the kids are like, I just want to get it done, and I want it to be done right, the right way the first time. But, it's unrealistic. So we have to be patient enough to encourage them to be independent and allow for it to be messy and allow for it to get better over time, and praise the efforts that they're making. So like if they're making their bed for the first time and it's completely done wrong, praise them for doing it, right? And then it's just going to keep getting better. It may take a month, right? But that month of time, just like it took a long time in martial arts to achieve a certain rank, gives them that sense of confidence. But you have to allow for that competency to be built over time. So encouraging them and giving them more tasks to do and delegating some of your responsibilities to them, I think is really powerful in developing their confidence. We also have to have really strong support systems. So, not only you, but everybody in the household should be working as a community. And then all of the outside community that you have helping to raise your child should be one in which share your values about developing their confidence. Sometimes it's hard because, like, you'll take your child to, like, your parents' house and they have different philosophies on the way to do things, right? If you can communicate what your goals are for the child, and, like, this is what I want them to do today, don't do this for them. Grandparents are always like, I'm just gonna do it, and they kind of spoil the kids, and that's okay. But sometimes it's good to communicate, like, if you're working on something in particular, like if the kids are learning how to zip up their jacket, just be like, don't do it for them today. So engage your support systems in furthering your goals with your child so that they develop their confidence. Little things like that. Sometimes parents come into this school and they're working on something at home in terms of focus or in terms of the way the child is speaking. And they'll come and ask us to speak to the teachers about, doing the same thing. So there's alignment in what we're trying to teach the child, and we're more than happy to do that, and we're more than happy to be that extra voice in their ear to tell them, like, this is what you should be doing. And so it becomes this cumulative effort, and the child kind of gets it all around. And so it's really powerful. So that development of confidence and that development of, what we're trying to achieve with the child comes from the community and not just from the parents. And so you don't feel like you're just doing it by yourself. You're actually having this whole group of people support you, and it makes it really great. I think people don't do it enough, or people think, they isolate their family and they don't want anybody else contributing, but there's so much contribution out there, and people do want to contribute. People are really generous. And so I think it actually brings the community together, and it teaches your child that there's a community of people out there and that they can also develop that for themselves as well. In addition to that, it's important to encourage your child to try new things and to learn about the world, right? Exploration and discovery is key in developing confidence. So, traveling is great. If you can't travel, there's so many things to do locally, right? Going to the aquarium, going to different museums, like learning about the world at large and not being stuck in the bubble of your neighborhood or your school system allows the child to develop this confidence about the world at large. So they're not just stuck in this one place. They're learning that there's a whole world out there, right? And there's so much to learn, and the humility of, I've got a lot to do, I've got a lot to get confident in, right, allows them to become more and more confident. The more they're able to kind of put themselves out there to try new things, whether it be food or experiences or learning that there's different people out in the world, really lends to them developing the sense of competency out there, because now they've kind of put themselves in different types of uncomfortable situations and they've navigated their way through it. And so this sense of confidence that they get from that can be really great. And kids in particular can get stuck in being safe. So it's imperative as parents that we create these opportunities for them of discomfort again and allow them to navigate it. Obviously, in the beginning, you're supporting them through it. And it could be something as little as you making friends with another parent and having, a get together with the kids, right? And introducing them to this new family. Those are just little things that you can do to show them, like, there's never a time where you should stop trying new things or learning about different people or different environments, right? So those are really good confidence builders. The next thing I think is really important is remembering that when we put them in extracurricular activities, whether it be academic or physical or sports or whatever it may be, that we encourage them to commit and persevere in those activities. So just like we were talking about in the Perseverance and Grit episode, it's important that if you sign up for a course of study for a year or 6 months, that the kids maintain that and that there's no room for quitting, unless there's some extraneous factor that makes it necessary, right? There's always something like that. There's always, I know someone's going to make a comment about, but what about this, but just in general, and I always talk in general because there's always extraneous circumstances or, things, extraordinary circumstances where you do have to quit something, because of a disability or something bad happens. But just in general, like if you commit to something, stay with it and have them persevere through it and get through obstacles and learn about things wholly and not just in a glimpse, right? Have them really understand it, and then they can see what it takes to get really good at something, and they can see what it takes, to develop confidence. Like I said with the belt ranking here, it takes time and patience, and it takes this level of going through ups and downs to really develop confidence. It doesn't happen in a day, and parents are mistaken if they think they can do martial arts for 6 months and develop confidence in their child the way that, they really want it to come out. It takes a really long time, and it's ongoing. So you can develop a minimal level of confidence, a good foundation for it, but it's going to take a certain level of time to really, really instill that, that learning of confidence that gets like put in your bones and in your blood, So understanding that's really important. And then finally, I think it's important to surround yourself and surround your children with confident individuals. So role models who are showing that confidence that I talked about earlier, the quiet confidence, the one that has humility, the one that is generous, the one that speaks well, that carries themselves appropriately. And the first person that should be is you, right? Are you confident in yourself? Are you developing yourself, and are you constantly growing and evolving and making sure that you're not standing still and playing safe? It's really easy as you get older to just be in your isolated state and be comfortable because you're so tired, and you're so tired of like dealing with newness or dealing with uncomfortability or discomfort. You have to be that example for your child that you can weather storms and you can try new things, and that you're willing to be confident enough to put yourself in an uncomfortable situation and get through it. Or, you're willing to do those things, right? And then at the same time, like making sure they're friends with people who are sort of going on the same path, I know you can't control your kids' friend group, but you can be that extra, voice in their ear that's telling them, like, you should be around people that you aspire to be like, who are like-minded with you, who have the same values as you. It sticks with them. When you're doing that for yourself, they're more apt to do that for themselves as well. And so that confidence is contagious, and everybody around them, should be demonstrating that as well. I can go on and on about confidence just because it's one of those topics where there are so many examples of it at the school, and I'm continually working that on that scale for myself. I'm continually working on that with my own children, and it's not something that stops at a certain point. Like, you continuously have to work on it. I think that it's a daily struggle for me to work on confidence, but I'm committed to making sure that, it's something that I'm working on consistently because it's a goal of mine. And I want my kids to be the same. And I want the kids that I teach to have the same. So, it's a great goal. I think martial arts is a great vehicle for it. But there's a lot of other ways to do it too. And I think as parents, in the home, we can really develop that for our kids, help them develop that. We can't do it for them. We can help them achieve it. So I hope you enjoyed this episode on developing confidence in your child. Please share with me how you're developing confidence in your child, or those things that you've seen helped your child develop confidence. You can share them in the comments below. And don't forget to follow us on social media. Until next time, I'm Kathy Sacoulas, and remember, stay resilient, be kind to yourself, and keep nurturing those black belt parenting skills. The Black Belt Parenting Podcast is produced and recorded by Press Record Studios.